Good morning, everyone. I'm still technically waking up. Roy, you've had a very busy morning.
I have. I've been out and about since about 6:30 this morning.
Dry ice is a little harder to come by than you would assume, huh?
Well, apparently it's not hard to come by unless the manager of the place that sells it's on vacation. Then it's a little harder to get a hold of.
And the difference would be, it was like, what, 5 minutes away or 10 minutes away in comparison to what?
Well, it was about 10 minutes away to the supplier for the dry ice in town. And the gentleman that was there said, you can go to any Myers store and get it, I think. And I said, you think? I need to know for sure. He said, well, I know of one place that has it for sure. And he gave me the address. It turned out to be about 45 minutes away from him. So I've been out and about for the past couple hours chasing down dry ice.
And a lot is happening to you, because yesterday we were walking out of the hotel, and the gentleman yells at you, and he was asking you if you were a magician, right?
Yes, on the side of my van, I have signs for my company, Jamstone Magic. And he said, are you a magician? I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, pull a rabbit out of your hat. I said, well, I can't do that. And we chuckled a little bit, and we got in the van and left. Yesterday evening, as we came back, he was just a little tipsy, and he said, you're a magician, ain't you? And I said, yes, I am. He said, where's your hat? And I said, I guess I don't have my hat. I left it at the room or whatever. Where's the rest of your magic? I said, it's packed away. Then I guess you can't pull a rabbit out of your hat then, can you? I said, no, sir. And I politely led him on into the hotel as he carried his case of beer in to enjoy his evening.
To me, it sounds like he was already slightly enjoying his evening.
Yeah, buddy.
What little he could remember of it. I was curious if that wheel was still hanging out of these trees around here. I'm not sure if it was. We drove by here a couple days ago. I think it was the day before yesterday, and I was looking in the trees, and someone's hubcap was hanging out of the tree. I was kind of curious if that was still in here. Probably not. And we've driven through here several times now.
If you don't like the way they drive, stay out of the trees.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This man is far too loaded with puns, but some of them can work. Some of them work pretty well. So day 3, you're teaching today.
I am teaching today. I am teaching in the clowning class. Be honest with you, I don't remember what I'm teaching in that class. I have studied that lesson, whatever it is, and I have notes, but I will have to go back and prep myself before the class. But I'm also teaching in storytelling, and in that class I will don my character costume and get into makeup. It takes me about 45 minutes or so to get into makeup. And in that class we will teach explosive science object lessons and magic tricks, thus having to go get the dry ice.
So discussing the elephant in the room.
Just an elephant?
Well, it depends on what
Dumbo!
room depends on what room you're in, I would assume. How do you feel about people who are scared of clowns? What do you do about that?
For the most part, most children are not afraid of clowns unless they have been preconditioned to it. Yes, the media and Hollywood, and especially the social media a couple years back kind of put out this whole scary clown thing. But for the most part, most kids aren't. My clown, I'm not in that character in a open public forum. Usually I'm on stage and people have come to see that character in particular, and so there's no issues. But if I do parades or stuff like that, I'm very cautious, and I don't rush up to a child. I ease into their field of vision and engage what their reaction is. If their reaction is trepidation, I back away and don't come any closer. That said, I have had parents come up and put their child in my hands, their toddler, and expect for a picture with Santa kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the kid freak out. But it's because mom and dad thrust them into the hands of this bizarre looking creature. But for the most part, it's not really an issue.
That's cool. I've always wondered. There's our man standing at the corner that's supposed to direct traffic. There he is.
Yeah.
I like to cover the topics that people, would be the elephant in the room per se, and I think that for you as a cartoonist, wow, there you go. You are a cartoonist, and you're very, very good.
In a way, I guess.
But for you as a clown, there's definitely a level of that is certainly something to discuss.
That particular topic has caused a lot of stress and undue stress at that in the professional clowning world. I know lots of people that's truly their livelihood, doing birthday parties and events, grand openings and stuff like that have made a good living doing it. And since the social media blitz, if you will, on it the last few years, they've lost their livelihoods over it. And it's all just social media.
And some of the individuals that we're meeting here were celebrities of their time.
Yes.
10, 15 years ago or so. And now they're unnoticed and unknown simply because of that blitz, as you said. Mm-hmm. Which is such a shame, because they've put their life's work into this. And no one ever meant to do or say anything to scare a child or scare an adult.
Well, the truth of the matter is, most of that was teenagers. Most of it was around the Halloween time, so they could go get the scary clown mask and stuff. But it wasn't someone dressed as a scary clown. It was presented as scary clowns. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference between being dressed as something and being something. They didn't say somebody that a fireman was there. They would have said somebody dressed as a fireman. Mm-hmm. Or somebody dressed as a football player. But because clowning is a little bit misknown on the details of it and stuff, it was clowns. Well, no, it was people dressed as scary clowns. Professional clowns who do this for a living would never present themselves in that manner.
I think for you show yourself as an individual. Correct. Where the other option is that scary clowns in general is just a genre of horror, quite honestly.
Correct.
So instead, you are that individual to do good.
Sure. So, exactly.
We got stuff to do. We'll see what we record today. Obviously, we got to record our class, but we better get inside and see what happens today. All right, so let's go ahead and put her on the spot here. First off, let's go ahead and talk about the basic shape of her face. This is a little bit more of a challenge. I brought up a challenging one, and challenging for me as well. I have a difficult time drawing young ladies, and that is the truth. You will find that there are certain kinds of people you're going to struggle with more with others. I can draw an old person easy. I can even draw an older woman easy. Younger women are much more challenging, and really mothers can be a bit more challenging as well. Not for any other reason except usually your your skin's pulled a little tighter. You have wonderful definition, but you don't have definition that's easy to caricaturize. So that's where we're going to pull a couple other features that are really going to kind of help this caricature work out. I hope. So let's go ahead and start with the basic face shape. What do you think the basic face shape is in this situation? An oval. And here's the question. How much is that really going to help me in exaggeration right now? An oval is kind of really not helping me in this situation. So, okay, we're going to have to put aside the whole face shape. Okay, now what do we need to do instead? Okay, let's look at the idea of the weight of the face. Where is the weight of the face in this case, as we talked about in yesterday's lesson? What do you think? Okay, cheeks, excellent. Now remember, like I said, there is a certain weight of the face top to bottom. You either have a lot of weight in the bottom, a lot of weight in the middle, a lot of weight in the top. Yes, she has cheeks, which we can definitely exaggerate, but that's not exactly demonstrating the weight of her face. Where do you think the weight of her face may be? I think so as well. I think her hair, how it's pulled back as well, adds to that. Remember, you can sometimes add that or not add that. That's up to you. And then finally, what are 2 or 3 elements on her face? She's being a great model, isn't she? What are 2 or 3 elements on her face that we can use that would be help with likeness, not exaggeration, just help with likeness outright right now?
Well, she smiles with her teeth. It's big.
Mm-hmm. So if she's someone who has a grin, that's going to definitely be a key thing. Glasses. Okay, great. I see one other very key thing. It might be a little difficult to see in the darkness here, but there is one very key element. Yeah, that's very important too. Freckles. Freckles. She has freckles. Yeah, and that's okay. She has a couple freckles. They're not exaggerated to an extreme. She's not like complete pigment change in face. You have a couple freckles, and you also have a beauty mark on your cheek there as well. So now always make sure if you think you're seeing a beauty mark, take a closer look at it. Make sure it's actually a beauty mark and not some food that she ate earlier. That's kind of important too, okay? So Huh?
Or a pimple.
Or a pimple, exactly, yeah. Yeah, drawing warts is only good for witches. That's about the best you're going to get out of that. Okay, so now my challenge is, how do I exaggerate her form? First off, once again, I'm dealing with a small bit of a no face here, okay? Because I'm challenged by drawing younger women. That's a given. So let me go ahead and just begin sketching my form out and start feeling this out. Obviously, the weight is in the head mass up top, I think is a great way for us to go. So I'm going to go ahead and start here with that theory in mind. I'm going to go ahead and grab a red pen. I feel like I love sketching in red pen, and you can look over here as much as you want for yourself. I feel like sketching in red pen is very helpful for me because it makes me think outside of it being a final piece. If I'm immediately sketching with a black pen, it spoils it for me. And if you ever deal with digital, another thing I like to do is drop my opacity so it's not as bold. I can put more detail in here, and it's not going to be as much. So obviously I'm starting with an oval. It's kind of lame. I can't exaggerate much off of that. So let's go ahead and start building our form for her face here. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that she's looking this way because this is part of our three-quarters perspective conversation that we've been having. Now, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, perfect, just like that. And I just want to get a basic idea of where her eyes are, where her cheeks are. The cheeks are going to be wonderful for exaggeration in every good way. She also has very pronounced lips. Not pronounced as in, not duck face, but she has great lips. We need to make sure we get the coverage of that, okay? Being a caricaturist is really weird to say some of this stuff out loud. So just to warn you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here just a little bit more. Now, we know that we can pronounce the upper part of her head a little bit more. Let's go ahead and break down the spacing. Remember how we talked about the triangle of the face yesterday a little bit? If you don't remember the triangle of the face, it's from the eyebrows to the bottom of the nose. That triangle of area. You want to see what that triangle of area is. For her, it's actually kind of a wide triangle. Do you guys see that a little bit? If I draw a triangle here and kind of try to mimic that same form, it's almost like this, isn't it? It's kind of wide. Okay, now that does not mean that I have to do it exactly like that, but here's the thing I noticed. Because it's wide, would you say that her nose is centered in her face? Yes. I would too, but it's a wide triangle, which means there might be an area of exaggeration there. Why not take the nose and push it up a little bit closer to eyes? Now here's a very large word of caution for you. How many of you guys have been to Disney or Universal or any theme park, sat down for a caricature? How many of you guys have ever done that before, especially mothers with your kids or anything like that? Have you ever felt like they drew your kid too old? Have you ever felt like they drew your kid too young? The closer you move the eyes and nose together, the younger someone becomes. Let me show you this really quick here before we move on. I'm really hoping we can actually get your face drawn here, but we're going to see. I'm going to draw two different faces here. I'm going to use two ovals, and you're going to love this. This is a technique that I show on my YouTube channel, and I think it's explosive. I think it really puts people in a whole different mindset of how to draw faces. Here we go. I'm going to take one person's face, and I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to take another person's face and I'm going to keep it the same, okay? And I know I'm kind of twisting things. So let me go ahead and start by putting larger eyes on this body, normal eyes on this body. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and put the nose directly underneath the eyes. I'm going to put the nose roughly the normal spot that you would expect to see. We can even exaggerate eyebrows on this one if we want to. Let's go ahead and put the mouth in the roughly the same normal place that you would kind of expect to see it. Let's take the mouth and really put it up underneath here. These started roughly as the same oval shape, didn't they? Roughly. Okay. And now let's go ahead and put the chin in here. Let's go ahead and put the chin in here. Let's put in the forehead. Let's give him some hair. Let's give him a neck. What a difference, huh? The lower you put the foundation of the face in the face shape, the younger they become. The more you press the nose up into the eyes, the younger someone becomes. The more you squish all those elements of the face down. Youth is built in the forehead. If you think about how a kid is, when you see a kid, they usually have rather large skulls, and they grow up into those skulls, roughly. That's the basic term I use that helps me remember if I'm drawing a young kid, I'm pulling their face, I'm just taking the whole thing and just going, and bringing the whole thing down. I'm pushing the chin up, I'm bringing the face down. Now there's a very unique scenario here, and we're going to go ahead and target our friend over here in the hat. Now, here's the thing. Most of his face is roughly pressed down towards his chin as well. If I was drawing him, I would have a very wide triangle. His nose is very close to his eyes. I would exaggerate that too. Where does this change for him? The size of his forehead is much, much smaller in this scenario. So if I drew this same person, but I dropped this head down lower, and I made the eyes a much more normal proportion before I do the exaggeration, I can bring age back into this face a little bit over time with a couple little adjustments. And I can make them look much older in just a couple lines. It's all about that forehead, folks. It's all about that face, about that face.
No body.
Thank you. Perfect. I was wondering what I could rhyme with that. I didn't have a good plan. So I think we get the rough idea there that this is going to play a very important role in her face here. So let's go ahead and start this. What I like to do is I like to start with the nose. Now, her nose, from looking straight forward, is a very basic shape. I think that we can say that. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a triangle here for her nose, just so you can see about how that's going to sit off of the face here, okay? Kind of like a 3D nose structure here, okay? And you can kind of see this, kind of like a switch, you know, like a toggle switch or something like that. That kind of idea there. But here's the thing. When she turns her head and she looks that way, I get, it's not there. It's not there. But I get a hint that it kind of points up ever so slightly. It's not really there, but it would work. Once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So if I wanted to, I could kind of exaggerate that nose point up slightly. And then I'm looking, another important thing to look at is the nostrils. Go ahead and look forward for them again. Remind me of your name again, by the way. Cherith? Oh, I love that. So I want you to take a look at her nostrils. Okay? Don't take a close look. We're not trying to find the nose hairs here. But I want you to see, are you seeing a lot of nostril? Or are you seeing only a line? Okay? So that's an important thing here. You don't want to get too much nostril shape when there's only a line there that connects the nostrils, okay? The back of the nose is pretty important too. So just by getting that shape. Now, if I feel like her eyes, she is very symmetrical, by the way. Do you all see how symmetrical her face is? Once again, symmetry is a sign of beauty per se. Celebrities get known for their very symmetrical faces. You know, except for Tom Cruise, his teeth are way off. I don't know how they got him as one of the marks of glory there. But when it comes to a very symmetrical face, that's something very important to keep an eye on there. Her eyes are very symmetrical, and so when I draw her eyes, I'm going to keep them pretty much where they're supposed to be. I'm not going to exaggerate that form so much, but I might exaggerate how large they are. Eyelashes make you feel like you want to do more. Why do you ladies put on mascara? What are you trying to show? What does that, can you give me an idea out loud? What effect are you trying to create with mascara? What do you think?
It enhances the eyes.
It enhances the eyes. So if you're putting on mascara, do you think I should probably try to enhance the eyes in my caricature a little bit? Okay. How many of you like to actually use maybe like a white outline? What am I thinking of? Eyeliner. Thank you. A white eyeliner. What does a white eyeliner do? It makes your eyes bigger, right? Especially if you try to put it on the inner eyelid, which hurts so bad. Don't ask me why I know. I've done stage makeup. It's not fun, okay? And that sort of thing makes the eyes pronounced. So this is what we're looking for. We're trying to find the exaggerated form. So if you're putting on makeup, there's something you want exaggerated. Now, I don't see any makeup on you there so much there, which is awesome. So, but I still think her eyes are something worth hitting on. So we're going to go ahead and try and push on that. So I want to go ahead and pay attention. First off, look right at me here real quick. Now, usually I'm talking to her. We're having a one-on-one conversation. I'm learning about what she is, what she likes to do. You know, try to keep her laughing as much as possible. Because right now she's in a major area of discomfort. And so right now I'm trying to keep her calm. You're sitting down paying for me to hurt your feelings? No, I'm trying to give you a show. So while I'm looking at her eyes, I'm looking at, okay, are they slanted? She does have very minimally slanted eyes. I'm not really worried about that. If it's obvious, I'm going to do something with it. If it's not obvious, I'll just leave it alone. I'm just going to move on with it. I'm going to go ahead and kind of utilize my Disney princess eyes in this case as well. So it might look a little slanted, but it really isn't. Let me turn this straight so you guys can see. It might look a little slanted, but for me, this is more of a straight eye. If I'm really trying to go slanted, I'll really pronounce that even more. So I'm just trying to take it easy here. And I'll do the same with the other eye. And you know how I say that you can use one eye and put it the same way on the other? The way I get away with this if I'm doing eyelashes is I simply take the outside of that Disney princess eye and I add the eyelash to it, kind of like this, okay? So kind of like that form right there to build off. Now, I am obviously running out of time very quickly, so I'm going to kind of move ahead a little bit, and I'm going to break a rule that I like to do very much. See how I already have the pupil in here? I love saving those for last. I love saving those for last. If I don't put pupils in here and I draw her whole face and they feel like it looks exactly like her, and they love it, and they love it, and they love it, and then at the very end, then I put the pupils in there, oh my gosh, they die. Because they're so into this whole thing that they're seeing here, but then they realize there's something really important missing. It's called life. When you put these pupils in here last, oh man, you just rocked their world in just a little 2 or 3 shapes. Oh, it's wonderful. Okay. Now, one thing that she does have here that's very, very pronounced is her glasses. That is something I definitely want to exaggerate form on. But before I do that, let's go ahead and focus on the side of her face. Very nice, rounded face in the cheeks and shape here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pronounce the cheek out. Like I said, guys, having this arrow idea over here on this side and building off of this arrow like that. That's going to help you realize where this line shape is for the eye. When we all turn our face, there will likely be an area of indent right here, okay? And for each person, it's going to be a different size, a different shape, and you're going to have to figure that out as you go along. Now, while this young lady looks straight at me, she has a very symmetrical, almost square-like face. Not, let's call it a very well-formed jawline. Okay, now when she turns her face away from me a little bit, that calms itself way down. Okay, now if you guys don't see that, bug her later and she'll be your model for the rest of the day, okay? So let's go ahead and try to create that same shape here as well. Now, obviously, if I add too much cheek in here, that's going to really fatten her up. And no girl or guy is looking for that kind of attention, right? So I have to be very careful how I choose to exaggerate this form. When it comes to young ladies or ladies in general, I actually try to remove some of this cheek form here on the side. And I try to make things a little bit more linear as they come down. So I show the cheek in the upper portion of the cheek here, but not in the shape coming down as much as possible. And then if I find I'm struggling with that, then I work on the form more in the lips and things like that. So are you getting something out of this lesson too while I'm using you as a victim here? I appreciate that. So now smile for me again. Here's another major area that we need to keep an eye on when it comes to the smile. Great smile, obviously. I wanted to pull you up here if you didn't have a great smile. What teeth are showing? Okay, now real big grin. Now what are showing? All of them. Now you got a lower and an upper. Okay? So she's a great model. So depending on what you're trying to get out of this person, if you feel like they're really excited and they have a luster for life, you know, they're enjoying being here, they're excited, they're in the moment, it's not all about likeness, it's also about getting their spirit. If you can get the spirit of that person in their caricature, then it's a humongous win. So if you see them doing fake a smile for me. I mean, you've been, okay, so obviously there's a certain point in time where you can obviously tell it's faked. Okay, and that's when I tell her, all right, stop smiling, that's ridiculous, what are you doing? And I'll try to learn about what makes her interesting, and next thing you know, you get an official real smile that came out of nowhere. Immediately when you see that smile, pay attention to a couple things. Right there, that's fake. Okay. Thank you. right in the smile there, we can see that, yes, there are a couple bottom teeth showing, but it's very minimal. Her top teeth are pronounced in a good way. We see gums. Okay, we see the V shape of gums, okay? And I'll show you that in a second. But I also want you to notice, and I can't do that with my beard, it's kind of hard to see with my beard, but if I smile, there's a certain level of black on each side of your mouth where your teeth are going back into your mouth, and you just see this area of black. That's called negative space that we're trying to capture. You want as much negative space as you can get when you're paying attention to this. So using her smile here, I'm also noticing from the side, it's almost a V shape, kind of, and I'm going to go ahead and run with that, okay? So it's kind of a V shape here like this. And she's got this great smile with the teeth here. So what I do is I draw bar teeth, and that's what I like to call them because it's basically a whole bar of white teeth, just to get that starting form. Then I add in the black of where that negative space is for the teeth, and this is all incredibly important to get the caricature right. And then I'll draw the bottom lip. And then for women, of course, to make sure that they definitely like their caricature, make sure to get that top lip in there. Very, very key. Now, when we're getting down to the teeth, there's different kinds. I mentioned this yesterday. Do any of you guys look in the mirror and give yourself a smile and feel like you have way too much gums when you smile? There are people like that. They have very small teeth and very large gums. And that's an area in caricature that people pronounce sometimes a little bit too much. I don't know someone who smiles and loves their gums. I know someone who smiles and loves their teeth, you know, and especially their clean teeth. So these are things that you will learn that are good for someone or not good for someone. Now, when it comes to her, as you smile again, the gums are very gentle. They're not in the way. They're not out and about and strutting their stuff in a way that this person wouldn't want. So for me, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to change my bar teeth into these teeth with gums, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the middle of the mouth. The middle of the mouth is kind of right there. And one important rule, do not fully outline your teeth. Don't do it. I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in the first gums. And literally gums can be done with little V's going towards the back of the mouth. And as you get further back, the gums will become more pronounced. So at a certain point in time, you're drawing arches when you get to that back tooth back there, kind of like that. See? If I draw these teeth and I draw each individual tooth and I begin shaping the teeth, I want you to tell me, beautiful girl here, how do you feel about that smile? That is gnarly, isn't it? It's gnarly. That is not a good look. And here's why. What is an outline? When we're drawing with our pen, what is an outline? Well, here's the way to think about it. Where am I drawing outlines? I'm drawing outlines in key areas. If I'm drawing a laugh line on your face, if I'm drawing the corner of your nose, if I'm drawing anything, basically what it is a right angle where the light is not hitting anymore, and we're trying to fully demonstrate an adjustment of light. It's where the deepest shadow is on the face, okay? When I draw your eye, your pupil, which is, black, I'm drawing this hardest line possible. So basically what I'm doing is I'm saying that there's negative space here. I'm saying that there's black here, or I'm saying the deepest shade to black is right there. Last I checked, teeth are for the most part white. And if you're drawing someone who doesn't have white teeth, they want them to be white. Okay, so here's how we change this. Watch this. This is a neat little trick. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of the top part of these lines, okay? Just the top part. I'm going to do a little quick refinement to these teeth. Just kind of cleaning up my line work just a little bit here. And I know we're in sketch and it's all in red, but you'll see what I'm saying here now when I do this. All right, so we're showing a color change. We're showing that the gums are obviously pink, right? And we're showing a color change because we've drawn this hard outline around this. But let's zoom out now and see what the teeth look like now. That's a lot more serene, isn't it? It's a lot more gentle. It's not nearly as pronounced. Let me show you where this really gets a kick. If she had the split between her two front teeth, which many people do. If I draw this shape here and I draw the other tooth going the other way, look at how pronounced that is. That's simply because I've added in that black. It shows that there is nothing there. Black is negative space. If you're using black, just like we did on the corners of her mouth here, we're showing that there is a negative space. There is a cave in those areas. Are we making sense so far? Cool. All right, let's keep moving on here. This looks nothing like her so far. All right, let's keep working here. So go ahead and keep looking straight forward for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and start taking a look at her forehead. Okay, now her forehead, I'm just getting a very basic form, but right here I can begin looking at the idea of hair. Okay, so we got the hair idea here. Now, once again, we're looking at overall shapes of hair, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to kind of point at a few things. Right here is a shape of hair. This right here, you can see a lot of hair going in this direction towards the back, and there's one even shape. I won't mess it up, I swear. Coming around the other side here, there's another shape of hair over here coming towards the back of the head. There's another shape of hair here coming towards the back of the head, and of course these awesome curls. And then another shape of hair, which is the back of the head back there. And you, believe it or not, you're supposed to look at the back of the head when you're drawing caricatures too. You think it's all in the front? No, the whole face is included here. So now we look at how high that forehead is. I could exaggerate it. I'm going to choose not to. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and quickly throw in, you're welcome. Like I said, beauty or beast, it's up to you. You choose to do what you choose to do. So I'm going to go ahead and start by choosing where this hair is going to start falling, okay? And I'm looking at where her eye is in comparison to where this outer curl is and things like that. And then I'm going to choose the overall body of that top shape that I'm seeing here in this moment. And then as it comes around the back of the head, where that's going to fall on the back of the head. All right, now do me a favor, kind of turn your head and let everyone look at your ears as you're turning your head, okay? I want you guys to look, when you start to see that 3/4 perspective come in for her ears, take a look. I don't know, I'm gonna ask you if you notice anything, but I'm assuming you might not see it so well. I noticed that her ears kind of lean backward slightly. And it's not a big protrusion, but they're kind of like leaning backward like this, okay? And the thing is, her ears are also visible. That's another key thing, too. All right? Now, obviously, we haven't even really gotten a good likeness of her yet. I feel like we've gotten a good smile, but things are not really connecting yet. So let's go ahead and start really trying to work out some of the details that are really going to help pop. Her eyebrows are a major part of her face, and they're also very thin. So trying to get these eyebrows in here close to her eyes and get that form and shape of the eyebrows is going to play a really major detail here. Okay. Now we go on to the glasses, and I'm just going to throw them on here since we kind of are running out of time pretty quick. Okay. And if I had the time, I would even consider exaggerating them even larger. Why not, you know? If she likes her glasses, if she liked that I mean, obviously they're a large frame. Maybe she liked the fact that they're a large frame. Maybe she liked that 70s kind of look. And if you can tell that that's that kind of a person, you know, they're wearing their bell-bottom pants or something like that, then you go ahead and you have some fun with the glasses. And you can see here I kind of exaggerated them slightly. They're because I've smushed her nose up even higher and I made the glasses even lower, it adds a form of exaggeration, doesn't it? Quite a bit of it. All right, now, a major important thing here, and I got about 15 minutes, and I do want to try and put some black on this so you guys can see what I would try to turn this into in the final. The major thing here is these cheeks, getting these cheeks. Let's talk a little bit about the muzzle. All right, the muzzle, if you guys weren't in part of my other classes, the muzzle is an area of the face that starts here at the nose. It's your laugh lines that come down around here and comes under the chin, okay? That's your muzzle. If I take that and I push it out, you look like a dog. Just that easy. You'd look like a dog. And you give them the ears, and next thing you know, you've turned into Beauty and the Beast. Just that easy. And I mean, if you've seen like the Wolverine movies from the old days where they do the makeup art and they show that horror movie kind of werewolf thing, the first thing they change is that muzzle shape. And so the muzzle shape is something very, very key to keep note of. Let me show you how this muzzle shape works. I'm going to use this face right here. Muzzle shape includes this form right here. It includes this form right here. And it also helps you decide how thick or thin the lips are. So when you're looking at someone's face and you're trying to find that area of caricature, you know how I said look at the mouth and look at the nose and look at that distance between them to help you see if there's an area of exaggeration? Truth be told, she has a little bit of area here that I could push down and push her chin up, just a little bit. Some of you guys might disagree with me. Some guys might see and go, well, she has a very pronounced chin, so why not do that? What did I say? There's no rules to caricature. I can draw her in both different formats and it'll still look like her. There's nothing wrong with either of those. So many of you guys have shown me drawings that you've done of me, and you're all scared stiff about how you think I think of them, and they're all fantastic because they all still look like me. Good job. That's all I'm saying. So in the same way, well, we're taking a look here and we're trying to figure out what's pronounced. I'm going to look at this muzzle area, and laugh lines are going to play a major key role here. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm looking at the, I'm going to get close to you here one more time. When she smiles, you're going to see a rather large twist. Some people have very straight lines in their laugh line. Some people have very rounded, and some people are the other way, more of an arch when they smile, depending on what you have. You go look in the mirror, you're going to be studying yourself for the rest of the day. Okay, so right away when I've added this little cheek, doesn't that start to immediately look like her a little bit? Now we've started to find some of that form, and if I do this right there, that kind of adds some form as well. So it's little, trust me, sometimes it's down to a single line that suddenly brings that into perspective. Now, let me go ahead here and switch gears just a little bit. I do want to kind of get this in here real quick. There we go. Okay, so I think we can begin to see a little bit of a likeness in there. I think there's some adjustments that need to be made. This is why we pre-sketch. This is my pre-sketch. I think it looks like her. I think I see a likeness in there. It might not be perfect, but I think I see a likeness in there. And I think if I take this and I use it as a guideline for my final ink, I'm going to be great. Now, if you're doing theme park style caricatures, you don't even get the chance to pre-sketch. That's years of practice to start to immediately draw with a marker. And it stinks. It really does. I hated doing that part because I wanted to spend time and focus. This young lady right over here in the black shirt, I'm going to be drawing her a little bit later today. I had a half an hour to draw her before the class, and I chose not to. Why? Because I want to take the time to really sketch you out, and we can have some fun together. And just focus on that stuff, okay? And enjoy that. Like I said before, nice thing about 3/4, is anything really in perspective here with each other? Not really. As long as the eyes are in line, the nose is going in the same direction, and the mouth is going in the same direction, you're golden. And you can do whatever you want to this, and you're still going to look pretty decent. As long as you make sure it's staying up and down. I've seen a lot of people take this and just take the whole thing, go, you know, and totally slide it out because they didn't use a basic form of shape of 3D to begin that structure. But if you have that, you're golden, okay? Let's go ahead and dig out the ink here for the last 10 minutes. By the way, I'm going to start inking this. I'm going to shut up for a moment. How about if you guys ask me a couple questions? If you have any questions, please ask it now. I'm just going to go ahead and start inking this out here, and we're going to see if we can kind of get some form here. We'll kind of go a little silent, but if you have any questions, ask.
When you're doing old people.
Yes.
I tried it a little bit,
Yeah.
I just find out they tend to look alike in a lot of ways. So.
And you feel that they all look alike? Here's the thing. I feel like all babies look alike. How many of you guys think that babies look an awful lot alike? Yeah, and here's why they look an awful lot alike. Well, for babies at least, they haven't grown into their age lines. They haven't grown into those forms yet. I look at an older person, and each line on their face is a mark of them. So I personally find if you're struggling with someone who's older, then you two sitting next to each other have roughly the same face type. I'd say you have roughly the same face structure. That's where you got to look somewhere else to find the detail. What would I immediately change about both of you? Your hairstyle's different. Okay, your cheeks are more square. Hers are more rounded. That's the kind of things you look for. So sometimes you're grasping at straws for anybody you draw. And then if I had you both smile, I bet you both would smile a little differently. Give me a smile, please. Yes, her cheeks go up and her smile goes up. You smile for me now. Okay, yours is kind of going down slightly. Even in your smile kind of goes downward. And there's nothing wrong with either of that, but that's the areas that we're looking for. And as I'm having a conversation with you, as I'm trying to keep you involved, I'm going to find all these things as I'm drawing you, and you're going to learn those little elements that are really going to help you out. Something else we can do here, instead of enlarging things, caricature is not always about exaggeration. It's also about shrinking things. Exaggeration is not just growing things, it's about shrinking things. So if you have a smaller than average nose, why not make it even smaller yet? If you have a smaller than average eye, like many Asian folk do, why not make it smaller yet? You know, that's Juanita. I have to draw her sometime this week, and she's scared stiff. I'm just going to draw her with slits for eyes, because when she smiles, her eyes close up nice and tight. You know, and so you have to pick your battles. What do you want to do? Let me switch over to my other pen here real quick. There we go. If you ever work with digital, if you ever have any questions on digital, don't be afraid to ask me. But if you ever get an iPad and you get Procreate, turn stabilization on. It's a really great feature, and it's a total cheat. It makes your lines look so much better than they really are.
How are you able to do that?
If you go into your brush settings and you click on your brush, right here is called Streamline, and Streamline is what you turn all the way up. And then I can go ahead and draw in the teeth here. And like I said, teeth, as you get further back, they become more visible. The gums make it more visible. And then I can draw the teeth shape. You can draw the bottom of the teeth, but I'm telling you, don't draw the top. Don't connect them unless you decide that there is a gap between teeth. Because like right here, I can draw an extra tooth here, and I can do that because there's a gap there. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? So same thing here. Now, I personally did not see that tooth on that other side of her face, so I'm not going to include it. Negative space. Negative space is very key. When you're looking at that muzzle area is basically another form of negative space. Give me a smile, pretty please. Great. You guys can't really see it as well as I can, but her front lip, there is a single line right here, a tiny little line right there on the front lip. Many people will have it. And it's just a little tiny line, just kind of like that. In different people, that line will turn into a V. Okay, so if you got someone else who's smiling, that bottom lip may end up doing this number. And usually those people show more bottom teeth, kind of like that. And if they're showing more bottom teeth, you may need to draw in bottom gums as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. Though that bottom lip may protrude kind of like that. See what I'm saying? So keep an eye out for that. That's another very, it's the little things that will make a successful caricature in a big way. For the African American culture, we're not judging the African American culture. We're not judging any culture, period. You want to make two guesses on two things that are probably fairly easy to exaggerate on the African American culture. Lips, absolutely, 100%. What else? Nose. See, you already know. How about the Asian culture? Eyes. Okay, what else? I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
Nose?
Exactly. A lot of their noses are much more compressed into their face, right? Yeah, they can be much closer to their face than an American nose. You know, how about the Mexican or Latin culture?
Nose.
Yep, nose. What else? Eyes are a very expressive thing in the Mexican culture. Now, eyes can also not have lids. Sometimes in the Mexican culture, much like the Asian culture, it depends. It depends on what part you're actually in. All right, let's keep going here. I'm going to go ahead and draw in this great-looking cheek here and try to get that form. And here's my trick. If I'm drawing anything that has to do with freckles, since I'm running out of time, I technically have 3 minutes according to this. How I draw freckles is I'll do individual dots like this, but to make sure it doesn't look like I'm just drawing dots and it looks like I'm putting zits all over her face, I will do little circles like this. And I know you're thinking, well, that just looks more like zits. But if you do a couple of them, it will actually become rather attractive to have those little circles out there as you begin to expand that out. And if you can choose colors, don't do them in black. Do them in brown. Brown is the pigment of that form. All right, I am so out of time. I am going to begin doing a little bit more of a race drive here, okay? If you have any more questions, ask. I'm one of those guys who feels like I have to talk whenever it's quiet, but I'm going to try and just plug away here real quick. Bless you. And here's the thing. I haven't really gotten much of a look at her face during this whole thing, except to instruct you guys. Usually, if I can get just a very generic theory of what I'm looking for, I can probably draw a lot of this without really knowing the full detail of what she might look like. No joke. I've drawn people where I've taken 3 glimpses at them, and I've drawn their caricature. It's not impossible. Why is that? Did it change color on me? No, it didn't. Oh, okay. Opacity was all the way down. Whoops. Get that line variation. Anything pointing away from the sun, make it darker, make it thicker. Anything pointing towards the sun, make it lighter. Okay? Now, personally, I would consider making this chin quite a bit smaller in this situation. I would probably take this before I moved it into a sketch, and I probably would move it up just a little bit more. That gives her a nice balanced cheek now, a little bit more than it was before. Okay, draw the ear in here. And I am technically 1 minute out of time, and Mr. Shane is supposed to get his start.
1 more minute.
1 more minute, oh no! So I can quickly put these glasses in here. Now she has clear glasses, so I would not put this level of dark into it. I would try to make them thinner. This is called freaking out. So I'm just pushing here. And then I would try to make sure that they look clear. I would try to do some lighting effects. So let me ask you guys, today's Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday. I've lost all track of time of what this week is so far. Where do you guys find that you are struggling with caricature next? I mean, I know I've given you a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if you've had any time to try it for yourself or practice. But what would you like to see in the next class? What would be intriguing to you to actually do together or learn, something that you might be struggling with that you would like to learn next that maybe we could do together in the next class? What do you think? Because I came here with an assumption of what I wanted to teach you, but I'm noticing that maybe there might be something that we could do together that might be a bit more intriguing. Do you guys have any theories?
Yeah, I want to try and make the noses.
You like the idea of making noses? Should we focus more on individual face shapes? Would you like that? Would you maybe do a bit of an anatomy study on face types? Noses? Because you guys were really into eyes yesterday. That surprised me. And I was going, if they're maybe that into eyes, maybe I need to stop trying to draw the overall caricature with people, and maybe I need to back it up and try and focus a bit more on individual face shapes. Would you guys like something like that? Okay. Then I think we'll go ahead and do that tomorrow. We'll go ahead and focus on individual face shapes. Now, sit up real nice and straight for me. Look at her neck. Very, very slender.
I got an hour to finish my big sculpture.
Go for it. Go for it. Very, very slender neck. So that's a great area of exaggeration. And it's not that she has like a super, crazy long neck, but it's an area of exaggeration. And truth be told, girls love that slender, long neck in a caricature. I think it looks great now. What do you guys think? Think it looks like her now? Look at that. What do you think? You like that? Yeah. Awesome. So obviously there's so much more that goes into this because shading this can make it a whole different form. Coloring it and giving her, right now she looks blonde. If I turn that black, she would look like a brunette. Caution, if I made that black, she could turn Latin. So you have to make decisions on some of these details on how much you color this in or how much you detail the individual hairs, because every extra line that you add to this hair is going to technically make it just a little bit darker, okay? And that's just one of the things about caricature. Let's do this really quick. You ready? Here we go. Boop. There you go. What do you think of that? Thanks for being such an awesome model, by the way. That's fantastic. So there you go. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I am 2 minutes over, and Shane does not deserve to have his time cut into. But if you have any questions, come bug me at my booth. And oh yeah, sure. What color are your eyes? Brown. So if I'm doing brown eyes, there's one of two things I would do. I would either fill these in completely black, just like this, and I would leave a couple areas of highlight. I mean, look at the difference just like that. See how that suddenly gave it a little bit of life? The other thing I would do is, because she has brown eyes, I would give her larger irises. Because in all technicality, have you guys ever looked at someone with blue eyes? You ever used that term steely blue or felt like you're being stared down by someone with blue eyes? That's because there's so much light coming into their eyes, their iris is super shut. So you got like a pinpoint. Here, I'll just do this real quick. So here is, I'm just going to put a pinpoint here. Look at the difference between this. Look at how bright that eye looks and how dark that eye looks. The reason why is this is more like a blue eye that is letting in so much light, your eye has to compensate and fight for all the light coming in, and so it closes up its iris really tight. For this one, I would paint brown in here, and with this open iris the way this is, it's going to look much better because that brown is an area of shadow. It's almost like you have a sunshade, an umbrella over your eye, you know, and you're not letting in as much light, and so this pupil can open up, this iris can open up wider. Okay? Cool? All right, good deal. That's it. Thanks, guys.